Many Catholics today believe the Church is going through a serious crisis. They point to falling mass attendance, confusion about doctrine, and growing division inside the Church. In countries once deeply Catholic, church participation has collapsed. For many traditional Catholics, the question is no longer whether there is a crisis. The question is, what caused it? Some believe the problem goes much deeper than liturgy or church politics. They argue the real issue is philosophical. According to this view, the Church slowly moved away from traditional Catholic thinking rooted in Thomas Aquinas and classical philosophy. That older approach focused on objective truth, human nature, and God's design for the world. Truth was seen as something fixed and discoverable. But critics say modern church thinking increasingly adopted ideas influenced by philosophers like René Descartes, Immanuel Kant, and Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. These thinkers focused more on personal experience, human perception, and evolving interpretations of truth. Traditional Catholics argue that this shift changed the way many church leaders approach doctrine today. Instead of beginning with eternal truths, they believe modern church discussions often begin with personal experiences and social realities. Critics say this creates endless dialogue without clear conclusions. One recent example often mentioned is the Synod Study Group 9 report published in 2026. The document included testimonies from people in same-sex relationships and suggested that sin should not simply be reduced to the relationship itself. Cardinal Eijk strongly criticized the report. He warned that it contradicted Catholic moral teaching and risked normalizing homosexual relationships within church life. According to Eijk, the report focused too heavily on personal experiences while treating traditional moral principles as too rigid or abstract. For many traditional Catholics, this represents a much larger trend inside the Church. They believe doctrine is increasingly being softened in the name of dialogue and pastoral sensitivity. This same conflict also appears in debates surrounding the Society of St. Pius X, often called the SSPX. The SSPX argues that church teachings should always be judged according to sacred tradition and historic Catholic doctrine. They believe truth should remain stable, even when culture changes. That is why SSPX leader Davide Pagliarani recently sent a declaration of Catholic faith to Leo XIV. The document described itself as the minimum required for true unity inside the Church. But tensions between Rome and the SSPX continue. Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez repeated that unauthorized episcopal consecrations by the SSPX remain a schismatic act under church law. The SSPX responded by accusing church authorities of tolerating far more serious doctrinal confusion, while focusing heavily on canonical punishments against traditionalists. They pointed especially to controversies like fiduciis supplicans and the famous Pachamama incident during the 2019 Amazon Synod. For traditional Catholics, these events became symbols of a deeper theological crisis. Bishop Athanasius Schneider has also argued that the conflict cannot be reduced only to legal categories. He believes the Church is facing a genuine doctrinal emergency. According to Schneider, many faithful Catholics feel forced into difficult positions because of widespread confusion surrounding faith, morality, and liturgy. Meanwhile, Father Etienne Ginoux recently argued that real reconciliation between Rome and the SSPX will only happen if the Church directly confronts the doctrinal and liturgical crisis itself. In his view, unity cannot be built only through legal agreements. It must be built on shared belief and clear doctrine. At the center of all these debates is one very important question. Should church teaching adapt itself more to modern experiences and culture? Or should it remain firmly rooted in timeless truths, even when society changes? Traditional Catholics believe the Church has spent decades moving too far toward modern thinking and away from its philosophical foundations. And they argue that this shift has produced confusion instead of clarity. For them, the solution is not endless discussion. It is a return to objective truth, traditional doctrine, and the historic foundations of the Catholic faith. Because in their eyes, when truth becomes uncertain, unity eventually becomes impossible too.